What do Tony Robbins, Elon Musk, Michael Saylor, Gwyneth Paltrow, Kanye West, 50 Cent, Paris Hilton, Dan Tapiero, Anthony Scaramucci, and 50 Cent all have in common? The answer is crypto. So all of these people invest in crypto, and Michael Saylor and Elon Musk are the largest corporate holders of Bitcoin. So I know Elon Musk has 2 billion now on the balance sheet at Tesla, and I can't remember how much Michael Saylor's got, but it's more than that. So there's a couple of things to think about here. First of all, I'm regularly greeted with fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, which suggests that it is reckless, irresponsible, like gambling, too volatile, highly risky, going to be regulated. The banks will destroy it. Just hype. When I talk about DeFi and crypto, and this is largely due to people not having a fucking clue what they're talking about. Can totally see it from the outside. Sorry about my language. Anyone who knows me knows that I find it hard not to swear. But looking from the outside in, I can see why you wouldn't understand something. And I guess the best way to compare this is to the internet. So people say this to me all the time. Like, anyone who knows what they're talking about is like, well, it's just like the internet. The internet was new. The internet wasn't regulated. Nobody knew what could be used. The email came. People used it once. They didn't use it for ages afterwards. And no one knew how it would evolve, like how it would be regulated, how it would be monitored, although that's quite badly these days, and how it can evolve to servers. And now look, we're able to do things like this, and I can upload videos in a matter of seconds from something that I hold in my hand or have on a little attachment in front of me. And I can put that onto YouTube or any social platform, and one, it can be accessed by millions of people if I was that popular, and two, it can be taken down so by anybody who deems me too unpopular in relation to the mainstream media. And that's something that we've seen recently. So when you're thinking about the blockchain, Web3, decentralized finance, and all of these things, the most amazing thing is that these things are being created to serve community. They are being created to serve us, and they are allowing us to take control back for our information, our data, our finances, and anything that we would like to record and keep private or public, however you want to look at it. Basically giving us ownership of things. All of the people that I've just mentioned have got infinite amounts of influence and wealth. And, you know, whatever you think of their politics or their brands or whatever else, they are, one of the beautiful things about being wealthy is that you have disposable income, and you are able to, there are two things you're able to do. Like, one is invest more wisely, and two is to be able to actually pay people to give you that advice. I suppose a caveat to that is that none of those people are going to want to look like idiots. And so for them to publicly talk about what they're doing and what they own it speaks volumes. And are you going to listen to Dave down the pub who tells you that it's a ridiculous thing to be doing when Dave doesn't know anything except something that he read in the Daily Mail or the Guardian or any other paper that you can think of, the Washington Post, as one of my friends posted recently? Or are you going to actually look and see, not listen to, but see what is happening in the world? Like, how are things evolving? How can these technologies actually serve us as people? And without getting too political, there's a perfect example of the ability of community to take back control. So in Canada, and most people probably aren't aware of this, but there's been something called the Freedom Convoy recently, which is all about it's anti-vaccine mandate, and there was a convoy of truckers that was 270 miles long. Amazing. Whatever you think, like the ability for that many people to come together in a country this size with a population as small as it is compared to other countries like the UK, which has no land and loads of people, for this to happen and for this to still be ongoing is absolutely immense. And GoFundMe, which we think of serving the people, right, ceased to allow the people to have the access to their funds because they said it went up against company guidelines. Now, I don't care what you think about the politics around this. Like, people should have freedom of speech, people should be able to voice their opinions, and people should be able to stand up for what they believe in, and I think there are fundamental human rights that we've fought for our entire lives. So taking away that money from those people left them with a kind of conundrum of like, what do we do? And Bitcoin was something that is like, oh, maybe we should turn to Bitcoin, because actually cryptocurrencies are decentralized, they can't be controlled, and they can't be seized, because, well, they can be seized if they're in your bank account, but they can't be seized and controlled in the same way that kind of mainstream fiat currency can be seized. So that's just a wonderful example of how it can serve populations, communities, and support things that you really believe in, and not be controlled and dictated to by governments or political powers or any kind of particular agenda. And whilst that may not be something you relate to like right now, hopefully it could be something that people can relate to generally if they think about the things that they believe in and the things they want to fight for. So that's like a perfect example of how it can serve us. I guess more specifically, like what I want to point to is that there's always going to be volatility. There's always going to be uncertainty in any aspect of any of the ways that we live our lives. And it's up to us to take that power and control back. We shouldn't need to be told exactly what to do. We should be able to use our brains. We should be able to use our time effectively in order to research the things that we're interested in. There's a whole myth around us not being able to manage our finances, which has been purported by the infrastructures that loosely try to control and hold us in the patterns that we've become accustomed to, especially around our finances. It's not in the interest of big banks to allow us to control what we invest in, which is why they use complicated language and complicated terms to ensure that we feel like they're huge barriers to entry. That is something that we're going to see to be a thing of the past. And I think I've mentioned before that you can take control of your finances and have very little volatility. There are so many stable coins now that are linked to the dollar, which take the risk out of things to a point, unless the dollar collapses, which may or may not happen imminently. Let's see what happens. But you can peg stable coins are pegged to the dollar, and you can actually get a return on investment by investing in those with basically just beating inflation, which seems like a really logical thing to do from my perspective. But hey ho, if you like wasting money, and as my dad would say, pissing it up the wall, then that's totally up to you. Or you can be risky. I mean, I have lost money and I've gained money. And so a couple of really good examples, I've probably seen 3 or 4K's worth of profit in Ethereum in the last 12 months because of the growth in that particular coin. And on the flip side, I've lost 2.5 grand on something that I invested in that I wholeheartedly knew was really, really risky, but that I'd seen people around me coming out with like 80,000% returns. And I was like, you know what? I kind of want a bit of that cake because that looks exciting. And, I've been burnt, but that doesn't mean that I would there are plenty of people that didn't get burnt like that. And so I think, and that was something that I knew might happen, and I'm very comfortable with that. It's a lesson that I've learned. And I think, there are different ways and different strategies to employ when you're investing your money. And if anyone wants to talk about some of the really simple, easy, low risk ways of becoming kind of involved in the crypto arena, then I would love to be able to help you. I'm obviously not a financial advisor, but if you've got any questions and you want to dip your toe in the water and see what it's all about, then please drop me a message and I will do everything I can to get you started.